What is good, people, and welcome to another video on Off-Field Antics. I guess this is officially episode 0 of the FPL show, bringing it back for another season. I'm joined by Rod. Thanks for joining me, mate.
As always, mate, it's a pleasure getting to some FPL finally.
Yeah, so finally we got our FPL video. Me and Rod have been taking our time on making our first draft. I'm still not 100% on mine, but as it's going, I guess this would be the team we'd be taking into game week 1 as of now. Obviously, we'll have episode 1 of that FPL show up next week, where we might make some changes. But let's get into our first drafts, Rod. I guess we'll start with me, and this is my first draft. So these are the players I have: Mendy, Forster, Digne, Alexander-Arnold, Zinchenko, bellow, Trippier, Salah, Sancho, Andreas Pereira, Son, Lingard, Jesus, Martial, and Lyle Taylor. I have 1.5 in the bank. As of now, the team lines up in a 4-4-2. On the bench, Digne and Andreas, and that's how my team lines up. Overall, I'm pretty happy with it. I think I've got a well-rounded squad. I've got good depth in terms of I've got 2 players I can bring in. I've still got 1.5. I'm not sure whether I'm going to use that somehow to try and get Haaland in the squad or not. But for me, I'm pretty happy, Rod. What are your first kind of thoughts on my team, I guess?
It's an interesting team. I see that you've gone for Martial, which I think, if as things stands, he will be leading the line for you, and I think he could provide very, very good value at his price point.
Yeah.
Bellow I like. Zinchenko's a good one. It's an interesting team, to be honest. You've got a fairly strong bench, and obviously Dean's going to always play. Andreas, you imagine he's going to tend to play for Fulham. But overall, mate, it's an interesting team, and I just want to get your opinions on Lingard. Obviously, he's at Forest now.
Yeah, you're like totally against Lingard. I'm all in on the Lingard train, mate. He's on 200k a week. He can put his feet up. He can score some goals. Hopefully, he doesn't put his feet up too much. But for me, I think him, and you look at his time at West Ham, I think that's almost like 2 years ago now, which is crazy. But he rode the bench at United. He had bench for another year. But he's free again now. And I think at Forest, he's going to basically be the main man in that sort of role where he's able to get into the box. I think you look at the players around him, you look at Brennan Johnson, I think he's going to have a really good connection with Lingard. You know, Lingard tends to get on with the younger players anyway. And I think that's going to be a really good connection. I think he's going to get goals. I think at 6 million, he is a bit of a bargain. However, I am still considering taking him out. I think he's got points in him, but I love Pedro Neto at 5.5 million. That's one player I'm really looking at. I think, it frees up another 0.5 million, which could help me potentially bringing in Haaland. But for me, Rod, Lingard's not really the problem at the moment. The problem I've got is those United players. I'm really happy with Bellow at 4.5 million. I think he's going to be United starting right back. I do think United need to bring in another right back to just get some depth. I think Wan-Bissaka looks like he's probably going to be on the way out. But as of for now, he's starting. From what I've seen in pre-season, he loves to get forward. He's going to, try and get some assists as well. I think he might actually get the occasional goal at times, with United using the left-hand side quite a lot and him coming in at the back post. So I'm happy with him, but for me, it's Sancho and Martial. I love Martial in pre-season so far. I think he's done a brilliant job, as has Sancho. But for me, I think I could free up some big dough there and bring in potentially Haaland, who I think might be a must-have in this FPL season.
I think also another point, you've gone without any City players who I think are going to win the league. No Cancelo, who's the second highest scoring defender. Obviously, no Haaland, no essential premium striker. So you've got quite a well-rounded team, but bar Salah. Actually, Son, you've got a Son. Yeah, I can see it. I just think City defender's a tricky one.
Because for me, I know what you mean by no City defenders. It's just I don't trust Pep. I think 5 substitutes is like Pep. He's like Salt Bay now. He's like, 5 subs. I don't trust that, Cancelo's going to get full minutes at all games. I think he is a brilliant pickup, but I think there are defenders out there who you can replace him with and also save a lot of money. I think 7 million is a lot for him. Obviously, I think he's going to get the returns for you. But I look at Trippier, I look at Dalot, Zinchenko and Digne, and I think they're all brilliant options at a much lower price point. I think Digne for Villa, I think it's a big season for him. It's his first full season in the Villa team. I'm not too sure on the clean sheet front. Obviously, he's got Martinez behind him, who I think is an excellent goalkeeper and might help him there. You look at the defenses, reinforcements with Diego Carlos coming in, you think that's going to help. Zinchenko, I actually love his value. I think he's 5 million in this game. And, I think that was because of his City price, being a reserve sort of bench player. I think now at Arsenal, he's going to be a starter. And I think he offers them quite a lot. I think he gives them the option to potentially go and play a 5-back and drop Kieran Tierney into a left centre-back position. I think he can play that left-back role. And I also think he might even drop into the midfield like you've seen him do with Ukraine. I think he's a very creative player and I think he's a really good value at FPL. And Trippier, I know you disagree with this, but I think it's just your Newcastle agenda, to be honest. I think the set pieces, the free kicks, I think he's a brilliant option. I think he's going to get a lot of points this season. I think Trent's a must-have. I think I can do without Cancelo.
I guess we'll see, but Cancelo last year was absolutely fantastic, and just no City assets are huge, I think.
Yeah, I do want City assets. I want Haaland. I'll let it be known right now. I want Haaland, but I don't know who I want to give up because it's going to have to be probably Lingard moving out, and it's going to have to be one of Sancho and Martial as well. And it's hard for me to let those three players kind of go at the moment. Because
it's going to have to be Sancho and Martial if you do want to get Haaland in. Lingard, you're not going to be able to sell him for enough.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
11.5.
I'd still have, the one.
That means you will have a freemium then, a free premium side, which it tends to make teams quite unbalanced. And I haven't really seen many good premium drafts.
What do you mean, free premium players?
Free premiums, yeah.
I think that's fair enough, Rod. But what I think with Haaland is I do see him scoring a lot of goals, man. Even though I don't think he's actually the perfect sort of striker for the City sort of way of play. I do think maybe they'll switch up to suit him a bit more or he'll change for them. But I do think he's going to score goals. And for me, I think he's a big sort of player to get. Talking City assets, which sort of City assets are you kind of liking the look of? I know you like Cancelo. I guess you're a Haaland fan, but Haaland is a lot. If you can't really get either of those two, who would you be looking at right now?
Obviously, Haaland. I've got Kane in my team instead of Haaland at the moment. Cancelo, 100%. Him and Trent are locked. I don't mind Grealish at 7 million, to be honest with you. Because of Jesus going, because of Sterling going, it opens up the plane. Now you're going to have Mahrez, Jesus or Foden on the wings, and obviously Grealish got the assist a couple of days ago. So I like Grealish at 7 million. I think Mahrez is good value as well. I think he's 7 or 8 as well.
Yeah.
So there's a few players there, but
I think the 8 million players, there's a whole bunch of them, like from Saka, especially in that midfield range, and they're brilliant assets. But like you said, I think potentially getting one of those City playmakers, like you said, with Jesus moving out and Sterling, it does kind of open up the role for Foden and Grealish to have a really successful season. I think you look at Julian Alvarez as well. I think he's a good price. I'm not sure if he's going to be able to get his, sort of season up and running and be a permanent fixture in the side. But from what I've seen from him, he's a very exciting asset.
Yeah, I like the look of Laporte as well. I think most City assets are going to be good value. Even KDB, if you want to go for someone instead of Salah. I don't think he's going to keep up with Salah, but I like KDB as an option.
Yeah.
Anyone in that City side is going to produce points.
Yeah, I agree, man. Other than that, though, the only other talking point, I know he's going to be a fixture in your team as well, Rod, as you've just sent it me on Twitter. I want to talk Mendy in goal. I think this is an asset we both like. I think you can cheap out and get a 4.5 and a 4 or two 4.5s if you want. I'm kind of tempted by the two 4.5 options. I'm kind of interested to see what happens with Fabianski at West Ham. Is Areola going to be the number one going forward? I do think he can probably get a run in the team and potentially become the main man, and at 4.5 he's brilliant value. I think you look at the other 4.5s around there, you're looking at Sanchez and potentially Dean Henderson, someone I was looking at. I know you're not too keen on him, but Benjamin Mendy at 5 million, so cheap. The way that Chelsea play football, he's going to get a bunch of clean sheets, right?
I mean, Benjamin Mendy's in prison, but Edward Mendy...
I always call him Benjamin, man. Oh, man, yeah. Sorry.
No, I think Mendy at 5 million is ridiculous value. Like, in a Chelsea defensive side, yeah, I think he made a lot of saves last year. He didn't score as highly as I thought he did, but I don't. Once again, I don't mind the two rotating 4.5s. I like Melier at 4.5. He's got some good fixtures, and I think he rotates quite well with Raya, so that could be an option of a constantly rotating keepers. But then I guess it makes it harder if you did want to lower your keeper to a 4, say lower Mendy to a 4.5 and then upgrade elsewhere. It's far easier than ruining a transfer on your sub keeper. So Mendy at 5 million, currently I'm on him. Mm-hmm. I think we still got just over a week and a half to the season. I'm likely to change my team some more, but I think at the moment I've got two Chelsea defenders in Mendy and James, which we're going to get onto shortly. But
yeah, let's get straight into your team, Rob, because it is very different to my team, in all fairness. You're going with a 5-back. You're going to have to enlighten us on the substitute. Sorry, it's very zoomed in. It's Mo Salah here, if you can tell with the captain's armband. But let's just go through your team in general, Rod. I think Mendy and goalkeeper is a great start.
So on the bench, Gazzaniga, Andreas, Lavia and Greenwood. Obviously, Gazzaniga is very unlikely to play. Greenwood's going to get a couple minutes, but Andreas and Lavia, I think, are going to be starters. So I've got two playing bench players. And then in goal, Mendy, I've got Johnny, Alexander-Arnold, Cancelo, Castagna, James, Salah, Sancho, Diaz, Kane and Jesus. So obviously we just talked about Mendy. He could be subject to change. I've gone Johnny over Ait-Nouri, because I think Wolves are quite a defensive side, and Ait-Nouri is likely to be rotated out when Semedo is back fit.
I think I'd like to get started on this defense. I think, like you said, Johnny's an interesting pick. I'm not too sure if Ait-Nouri is going to start ahead of him, in all honesty. We'll have to wait and see. I haven't really seen too much of Wolves in pre-season, but the one I'm looking at in that defense, obviously you've got the two locks with Trent and Cancelo, and Reece James is always going to be a brilliant option going forward from right back, but Castagna is the one I'm kind of interested in.
I think at 4.5 million for an attacking defender for Leicester, I don't mind it at all. He could, obviously, once again, he could change, but 4.5 million for all of the Leicester fullbacks is quite interesting. I did like Pereira at 4.5, but he is quite injury prone. Castagna likes to get forward up that left side, but he could change. Like, I'm on the 5-back at the moment. I wouldn't mind going down to the 4-4-2, but it's kind of about navigating the side and doing so. And hopefully, if I can get maybe a 4 million playing defender, maybe like Patterson or Nico Williams, that could be something else. But yeah, currently I'm on that. Sancho, yeah, I just had a look at him the other day. I thought he looked great, but he could be any other 7.5. Like, I don't mind Grealish, to be honest, if he does play.
I think you could up to an 8 million sort of target in there as well, and that's where it is hard with the midfield, because I think you look at the attack, there isn't much value other than the sort of premium sort of strikers, and then you look at the midfield and there's just so many fucking options.
And it's Luis Diaz. I think he was one of the first people in my team. I really like Luis. Yeah, I think he's gonna have a very good season. Obviously, Salah, I mean, his current ownership is...
It's got to be like 90%.
56.8.
Oh, what?
Even Gabriel Jesus is 62.7. So, I like Jesus at 8.
Yeah, and me.
He did get injured the other day, picked up a knock. It's just all about if he can hit the ground running, because if he does, I think he's immense value at 8, leading the Arsenal lineup. who are going to be looking to get Europe. And then obviously Kane could be Haaland, or he could stay as Kane. But it's a difficult one. This is what it's all about. But I've made a lot of changes since the opening release of the game, and I'm likely to make more changes still. But I'm currently quite happy, but there's a good chance I'll go down to a 4-4-2.
Man, I'm finding it really hard looking at your team. Honestly, I feel like you've got a really good squad, but obviously you're my rival this year, and I do think I can beat you. I really do. I think you've got to make changes for sure. I really don't see you starting with Castagna and Johnny. I do like what you said, though. A player who was in my squad for a long time was Nico Williams. I think, what is he, 4 or 4.5?
4. He's 4.
4 million, so cheap. He's going to guaranteed start, just having him on the bench. Obviously, he's not really going to be a starter for you. I think he could be the new Tino Livramento from last year. I kind of love the fact that you've got Cancelo, Trent and James. It's just such an expensive sort of backline to kind of maintain, though. That's what I've kind of cheaped out on my defence. But for me, the one question I've got is Kane to start the season. He's never really been a quick starter, Rod. How tempted are you by Haaland?
It's a coin flip, to be honest with you. I've gone Kane because of obviously Conte effect. He's guaranteed to start and play majority of minutes each game. And Haaland, I think he could be eased in. We know about his injury record. So that's why I've gone for Kane. But I could just change my mind last day and put it to Haaland, where I think it's basically 50-50 with people, Kane and Haaland. More people are going to be leaning towards Haaland, I think, because of that
the name
Haaland effect. But we've seen Kane's proven in the Premier League. We know what he brings. He's also on penalties. Whether Haaland takes penalties or not, we're not too sure. But it's a coin flip, to be completely honest with you, mate.
I completely agree. I'd just like to talk before we end the video. A couple assets who are really tempting you right now. Is there anyone who's really tickling your fancy who you haven't got at this moment in time?
You see, I was on Kulusevski instead of Sancho, and I had Sanchez instead of Mendy. But that Richarlison purchase does worry me a little bit, because I think he is going to get quite a few minutes rotated with him. But if I really wanted anyone, it would probably be... If I could fit Perisic in there, I'd love that, but it's a bit of a push.
Yeah, I agree. I think your backline is costly for sure. I'd actually like to get your opinion on, I mean, the deal isn't done yet, but it's looking pretty confirmed. I'm not sure what his price is going to be in fantasy, but have you heard about Scamacca joining West Ham? I feel like he's going to have a really good...
Yeah, I had a look actually. I didn't know who he is. His striker is 6'4".
Sassuolo, yeah, he's a bit of an animal, man. He scored some really nice goals last year. I loved his goal against AC Milan, and he's one player who I could potentially look at bringing in, depending on what his value is. I think he's someone who is gonna offer you a lot. I think right now, though, even though it's someone who I'm questioning taking out, I feel like Martial's great value. I know a lot of people are going to think of the old Martial, who was kind of all over the place. I don't think mentally he was in the right headspace. But from what I've seen from this pre-season, and I know it's not exactly the be-all and all-end-all, that United sort of front four, they're looking young. They look really fit right now, the United team. I feel like they might hit the ground running, especially up front. I do think they're missing some sort of pieces in the squad which might hinder them. I'm not saying that it's going to be easy for them this season, but I just feel like Martial through the middle is going to have an actually really good year, especially if Ronaldo leaves, which is something I think is probably more likely as of now than ever
Martial,
before.
a couple of years ago, he did have I think it was the same season where Greenwood was on fire, Rashford was on fire, where he was picking up a lot of points. And if he can regain that form, then what's he, 7 million, Martial?
I think he's 7.5. 7 million. Yeah, 7.
that. So he's cheaper than Watkins. He's cheaper than Bamford. He's cheaper than Tony. Actually, he might be the same price as Tony.
I think
But
the same price.
But that's it. In the United side, that could be immense value. If he don't do it, then could see myself, if Jesus is struggling, putting him down to Martial and upgrading elsewhere. But obviously, we have to see as the season goes on, I guess.
Yeah, 100%. I was just looking at his previous season stats here, Rod. So last year he got 14 points, the year before 75, but the year before that he got 200 points, which is absolutely huge. And at the value, I think he could return to that some similar sort of form. For me, I think there's one player who's going to be a must-have potentially this year. I think it's Jadon Sancho. I think from what I've seen from pre-season and, you know, knowing what you do, knowing what I know about him from his time in, you know, Germany, I just think he's looks electrifying right now. He looks like he's happy, and I think that's going to be dangerous for a lot of people. I do think United, though, do have a tricky run of fixtures. You know, I think to start the season off, Brentford and Brighton, not too bad, but then Liverpool, Leicester, Arsenal coming up. You know, it's just, I don't know if it's ideal. We'll have to wait and see, though, Rod. Overall, then, Rod, which team do you prefer, yours or mine?
Mine.
All right, I prefer.
I wish I could do the freemium in Kane or Haaland with Son and Salah, but I feel like the rest of the team takes too big of a hit.
Yeah. I actually prefer mine, even with the 1.5 million in the bank. But be sure to let us know which team you prefer right now. Put a number 1 in the comment section for my team and a 2 for Rod. As always, we hope you enjoyed the video. Me and Rod are going to be back again this week. We're going to be doing that transfer show. EP.0, I think it is. We've got a lot of transfers to talk through. Kunde, Skamaka, Zinchenko, loads of transfers. Be sure to join us there. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of the upcoming content. And until next time, peace out.